Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now, what is the scope of political science? The scope of subject matter of political science relates to the following fields: political philosophy, organization of the government, bureaucracy and its behavior, judicial system, the legal processes, representation, election, voting behavior, political parties and pressure groups, and political culture, and that is world politics and international organization. Now, what political philosophy is, how the politics came into existence, how does it came into the common society, how people adapted it, then how the governments were organized, what kind of government, like it was direct government or the indirect government, whether it was democratic, monarchy, or after that then it was bureaucracy and its behavior, then how was the judiciary system, what was the legal process, and how this political system works according to both of them, how judiciary keeps an eye on the other organs of the government, then how representation, election and voting behavior works, like who are the people, those who are the representatives, how the election is being done, what is the procedure of election, what is the voting behavior, who can vote, what kind of voting system is there, then what is the role of the political parties, and if political parties are there in the society, then what pressure groups do. So there are so many things to think about, and in political culture there is world politics and the international organization. So let's see what exactly this political science relates to. Who is the father of political system? Let's revise the questions. Aristotle. And the meaning of the theory. Arnold Bridget defines theory saying that it is always used to designate attempts to explain a phenomena, especially when that is done in general and abstract terms. And which language the politics is derived? The word politics is derived from Greek word polis, which means city, state. And what is the origin of the word theory? The word theory originates from a Greek word, theoria, that suggests a well focused mental look taken at something in state of contemplation with an intent grasp it. And the meaning of political theory, in simple words, political theory is a theory about what is political science and the philosophy of something that is political. Political philosophy it begins with the assumption that such public question as obedience to the law. That means when people are very much obedient and the disciplined, then the government, public policies, then justification, like everything, if it is in process. It is possible only in the world where N. collides Isaiah Berlin, and it is an attempt to truly know both the nature of political things and the right to the good political order, that is Leo Strauss. The organization of the government, that is Government of India. Making an execution of laws and primary function of the government. Obviously, when laws are made, rules are made, and the things are being implemented, this is the role of the government to think about the welfare of the people. And a democratic government can be based on parliamentary or presidential system. And in India also, like we do have democracy where people choose the government. Within the parliamentary or presidential system, the system of government can do unitary or federal government. Now, bureaucracy and its behavior, the fate of our times, is characterized by rationalization and intellectualization, and above all by the disenchantment of the world, that is called by Max Weber. Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy says that until the mid 20th century, the dissemination of the German sociologist Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy, there was not much interest in a theory of public administration. There was no interest in public administration. And it was like the field is multidisciplinary. That means one of the various proposal for public administration subfields its six pillars like human resources, organizational theory, policy analysis, stats and budgeting, and ethics. Judicial system and the legal process. Judicial system has a very important role, because when somebody is exploited, when somebody feels insecure, when you are exploited, when you are insecure, and many more things, like whenever you need to go according to the laws, when you have a fear, when you have a secured desire, at that time you go to the legal process, you go to the judiciary system, and it controls in that way that it can legislate on the constitution, jurisdiction, and the powers of the courts can also impeach judges. Like if there is no one who can remove them, impeach means removal, there is no one who could remove them. But yes, the judiciary has wide powers to review and strike down unconstitutional executive and legislative decisions and actions. Now, what factors influence voting behavior? Representation, election, and voting behavior constitute an important subdiscipline of political science. Elections are the means by which the people choose their representatives. And the periodic elections, that means the tenure which has been set after 5 years, the elections would happen based on universal franchise and legitimacy to the government. There is a direct relationship between electoral fairness and people's confidence in the political system. That means a person who is 18 or 18 above can vote, and the voting things would be processed by election commission, and the votes and the elections both would be free and fair. There would be no pressure on a voter from a political party's side, or any representative side, because people are free to choose their own government. And it should be fair means there should not be any case of malpractice in choosing the representatives. Then the pressure groups. Pressure groups are not exactly the political parties. Let's see what is the difference between a political party and pressure group. A pressure group is an organization formed when people with common occupation, interest, aspirations, or opinions come together in order to achieve a common objective. That means this is the aim. And a political party is formed when a group or people come together to contest elections and hold to power in the government. This is their aim, right? And it is an informal institution, this is a formal institution. So what we could write is type of institution. This is second point. Then third is your control, right? So it is directly control or share political power, and it directly control or share, it do not directly control, it directly controls. And then the membership of pressure groups is limited, the membership of political parties is very broad based. Pressure groups are not accountable, and these are accountable because they would be forming the government, so they are automatically accountable to people. And political culture historically based widely shared beliefs, feelings and values about the nature of political system, which can serve as link between citizens and the government. Now, what exactly the political culture is? Political culture, it has been observed, is one of the most common and seductive political. It is also one of the most controversial and confused. Elkins and Simon, 1979 to 127, and the term was first employed by Lenin and White in 1979. They used the term refer to the role of political education and mass media in the Soviet Union. And political culture can be defined as the orientation of the citizens of a nation toward politics and their perceptions of political legitimacy and the traditions of political practices as well. And world politics and the international organizations. Here it has been one of the most important concerns of political scientists. Problems such as the reform of the United Nations Security Council, peace and cooperation in South Asia, shape of the European Union arms control environment protection and some new threats to the world security arising out of global terrorism have been exercised the minds of the students of political science in a big way, because this terrorism has given them a chance to understand what exactly the term is and how they could find out the threats, and they could make the people aware that these threats need to have world security. And this global terrorism has just changed the balance of globalization as well as the relationship of the countries. And the World Trade Organization, WTO, and agencies like the Indian Monetary Fund, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank safeguard the interest of the developed nations. The developing nations, therefore, would press for an international economic system which is just and fair. Because, these days everyone is into the globalization and they need the safeguards and the interest, and the country like India especially needs all these things, because a vast number of people are living in India. It's second in position in terms of population. So we also need to follow all this system which is just and fair.